All right, we're live. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Blaine and Honey Parker, branding geniuses, join me here today.
That's us. Actually, that's her.
Well, this is a marketanything.co podcast. Blaine and Honey Parker, we've known each other for almost 10 years. Can you believe that?
Is that all? It seems like a lifetime.
It kind of is. In some instances, it is. You're coming to us today from where?
Beautiful Park City, Utah.
Now,
Utah, greatest snow on earth.
Do you still have the fortress on the mountaintop?
We sold the mountaintop marketing fortress, I'm sorry to say, just because we no longer get to say we have a mountaintop marketing fortress. But we sold the house. We bought a condo at a ski resort, and now we spend about half the year in what we call the Couple Coach, which is a Mercedes Sprinter-based C-Class RV, driving around the country, interviewing entrepreneurial couples for our podcast, Couple Co, working with your spouse for fun and profit.
Couple Co. And you have slow burn marketing as well?
We still run slow burn marketing, yes.
We started slow burn marketing as soon as the market crashed in 2008. And that's been consistent throughout.
I think it was an interesting genesis. Honey's background, she comes from big agency advertising and has worked for... at the peak of her career as a staffer, she was working as a senior vice president creative for the biggest ad agency in the world. Left that and became a gun for hire in agencies across the country. Well, across the country, New York and Los Angeles. And I kept saying, we really ought to start an ad agency. And Honey would say, well, yeah, but if you do that, you've got to have clients. And I'd say, oh, yeah, clients. You don't want them. They're a problem. And the market tanked. I got laid off from my staff job after 10 years, I guess, at a radio network. And it was time. I had to leave anyway. I was way overdue for an exit strategy, so I was given one. And Honey said, well, maybe it's time to start that agency. And I thought, really? And, it was a downturn. And that's when a lot of agencies start. And really, it was crazy. Just like predictions, it took off. We said, we've got an agency, and the world said, advertise me.
I also bought you a China box.
Oh, yes. And she gave me a parting gift when I got laid off. It's a China box, which is a giant wooden box in which one roasts pigs and other kinds of meats.
So that's what you do now.
It was a little self-serving.
I roast pigs.
You roast pigs. Well,
and nothing else. I just roast pigs.
Some would say I do that as a profession, but whatever it is. Let's talk about brand, and you've got books too. You've written a number of books on this topic. I've always said that brand and branding. I almost hate that word, and here's why.
I do too.
I hate it because, to quote Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, it's like a kid who found his dad's gun, and you're just, it's like they don't know what it means. They don't know what the purpose of it is. They just think, a lot of people think, and I learned this from you, brand is not a color, a logo, a font, or a sound. That's not.
Wow, that's like a direct quote.
It is a direct quote.
You read the book, at least that far.
I have.
That's chapter 1. So.
See, I got that far. But that's as you say, those things, those devices lead to the brand.
Well, they're all part and parcel of the brand. Once you figure out your brand, your color, your fonts, all of those things will start to make sense because you've defined where your target is. My challenge, one of the reasons that I'm challenged by the words brand and branding, is because so many people take a marketing class and then they start to talk about brand and branding. And branding is one of those things that when you get it right is but simple. And you think, of course. But the work required to get to the but of course, to get to the juicy center, the heart of the heart, it takes time. It's worth doing the work. And a lot of people also try to redefine brand. We're going to reinvent brand. You know what? Brand is brand. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it, little juicy brand flakes. You can call it whatever, but it's brand. And so, Mr. Parker, do you want to explain how we define brand?
We define brand as the one way your core customer should feel about your business? One way, because focus is essential. You can only have one point of focus. You cannot have more than one.
Give us an example of who you think does brand well.
Trader
Branding.
Joe's is one of my favorites.
Trader Joe's, yeah.
Because, in fact, here, give me a second to finish defining brand, and I'll show you exactly why this fits. Okay, one way, because focus is essential. Core customer, because once you have defined the person to whom you are speaking, you can then speak to them in a way that matters. You can speak to them in a way that's resonant and evocative. And that's important because the one way they should feel about your business, all decisions are made emotionally. People, especially salespeople in radio, have heard, well, decisions are made emotionally and justified intellectually. Buying decisions are made emotionally and justified intellectually. It's not just buying decisions. It's all decisions. There is medical evidence, most of it anecdotal, but medical evidence that people who lose the emotional center in their brains, their lives go off the rails because they can no longer make decisions. So it's critical that you have an emotionally evocative brand. Now, the reason Trader Joe's fits that is because they have defined their core customer brilliantly. And I love this. And if you've been to Trader Joe's, haven't you, Tim?
Oh, I'm going there later today.
Okay. I wish we could go more often, but our closest Trader Joe's is about 20 miles away. Anyway, Trader Joe's defines their core customer as an unemployed college professor who drives a very, very, very used Volvo. Now, if you go into Trader Joe's with that in mind and look at the selection of stuff, it's like, that fits. Mm-hmm. It really fits. Yeah. And, I think it fit even more when we were living in Los Angeles and our Trader Joe's was in West Hollywood because the parking lot was filled with very, very, very used Volvos. That notwithstanding, it doesn't mean that people who aren't college professors and broke can't shop in your store. Of course not. But it does inform every decision you make. And everything about that brand has a feeling. The signage, the packaging, all of it has a feeling that evokes a certain emotion that plays right to who that person is.
And when you talk about building relationships, I've tried to, for people who aren't in marketing and they're just trying to figure out how do I get to the heart of my brand. When you know who you're talking to, if you can see them as an individual, you can have a one-on-one conversation with them that matters. So what happens is you start to become a friend. And if you think about all your personal friend relationships in your life, there's a very specific kind of person that's attracted to your particular personality. And so you're getting to what is the particular personality of your business. How are people supposed to feel about you? Are you the tough love friend? Are you the always there for you in the middle of the night friend? Are you the friend that everybody turns to for advice? What is the personality of your business?
I think a good example of this in action is one of our first clients. It's Dr. Sam's Eye Care.
Oh, don't talk about them.
In rural New Hampshire. And the reason I bring this up is because we still do work with them. But it was about 10 years ago, we got a phone call. And for a long time, I've known the woman who married Dr. Sam Gavin. And she said, we are badly in need of rebranding. This guy had this eye care practice in rural New Hampshire called United Eye Care Specialists. And as Honey likes to say, you imagine a glass office tower and you can smell the antiseptic hallways.
Yeah, I absolutely smelled the antiseptic hallway when I heard that. Mm-hmm. And the reality of what this business was completely different. You're talking about like a country doctor, one guy. It's grown since then, but it was so not that. And ultimately we rebranded his business as Dr. Sam's Eye Care, which if you're not a doctor, you may not understand why this freaked him out, but it freaked him out because
doctors are very concerned about their reputations, especially eye doctors, because they're often considered a little less than.
And was this too casual?
MDs.
Was it too flip? So, but we made him Dr. Sam's Eye Care, and we had sent out a direct mail piece.
Well, before that, we defined the core customer. We defined the core customer very simply. The core customer is mom, because mom makes the majority of the healthcare decisions in the family.
Yeah.
So it was about talking to mom one-on-one in a way that was going to resonate with mom, which meant dispense with the United Eye Care Specialist scientific language and speak to mom one-on-one.
So we sent out these direct mail pieces to all their current patients, and to explain the name change. And basically it was a direct mail piece that asked the question, why is United Eye Care Specialist becoming Dr. Sam's Eye Care? And the answer was, because you can't shake Dr. United's hand.
There you go. And that actually leads to my next question. How many businesses do you think overthink, or they get bad advice about their brand? Oh, I want to start this business, but I'm going to call it United Optical Corporation Global, whatever.
Two answers to that.
Sure.
Yeah. A lot of people waste money, which makes me insane. We've had a ton of people come to us and say, I get that you're doing it the right way, and I should have done that the first time, but I spent all this money doing it the wrong way, so I want to stick with it because I spent so much money to be wrong.
Yeah, they feel so invested that they're like, I can't throw that money away. When sometimes you got to know when to fish or cut bait, and sometimes it's
that
cut
makes
bait.
me crazy. And then, as far as overthinking it, we get that all the time. When we work with people, we have them sign this document. At the end is the come to the light clause, which they are not, once they decide that, like, yep, we've all knocked it out of the park. And that they get that feeling pretty quickly. When it's right, they feel it.
I'm going to interject here. We have actually made clients cry. And for the right reason, not for,
well, because they feel like
them.
Somebody finally listened to them.
Yeah.
But so we present this, then what happens is often, they take it to their husband, or they take it to their in-laws, or they take it to the neighbor who are not in their core demographic. So our come to the light clause makes them, they have to sign something saying that once we all agree that we actually knocked it out of the park, they are not allowed to focus group it with friends, family, neighbors, pets, nothing, done. Because you can talk yourself out of something great, because something really good can be scary. And one of the reasons that it's scary, besides the fact that, your money's on the line, you feel every wrong decision you make. But often the right brand for somebody doesn't mirror anyone else's brand. So they haven't seen it before, so maybe it's not right. It doesn't sound like everybody else, so maybe it's not right. And the thing is, if you don't sound like everybody else, you just may stand out.
And that's one of the things that I talk about relentlessly. If you've seen me on stage, you've heard me say this, I don't know how many times. The byproduct and the effect of hearing, reading, or seeing 10,000 commercials a day is you subconsciously get planted in your brain all of these things that this is the way to do it. Well, McDonald's is doing this and they're spending a shit ton of money. Well, gosh, they must know what they're doing. That you cannot follow the big boys. And again, if everybody's going one way, you got to go the other way. You got to find out who they are and who your audience is. And like Trader Joe's with Blaine's example, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
What do they do? Who are they? Why?
There are a lot of things that fall under the umbrella of what I like to call sadvertising. It's all those buzzwords that make people think that, look, I'm advertising because I say that I'm conveniently located, that I've been in business for 3 years, that I'm family owned, that for all your coffee mug needs, all those things. That sound, I know, I was looking at my coffee mug. That was improv. But those are all the things that give people comfort and no business.
Well, it's familiar. And I do want to say, because I know we're talking mainly to people here who are in radio stations. And
business owners.
We're talking business owners too. Sure. Since there is such a large audience of radio pros here, I want to point out a couple of things. One, we did use radio to basically reverse a new patient void. The business has been flat for 3 years. Within the first 3 months, they increased their new patient base 30%.
Was this Dr. Sam?
Dr. Sam Zyka.
Okay.
Now, the way we did it was by doing a kind of a radio commercial that is work, but is viable for anyone in any radio station who is interested in putting in the work. I sit down, I record Dr. Sam for 10, 15 minutes talking about a specific topic, and within the idea in mind that we're talking to mom, that's a very easily defined core customer, and then going through that recording and finding about 30 seconds of gems. And it often requires, I typically in a 60-second commercial, I will have 100 edits, because I am figuring out how to put together this puzzle of what he said into a compact package that's evocative and says something. And then I write announcer wraparounds to fill in the blanks, tee it up, fill in the blanks, and do the call to action. And of course, it made him a little uneasy because it's very unvarnished. It sounds very real. I'm going to use a word I hate because it has become such a buzzword. Authenticity. It sounds authentic. But it is authentic. So there's a difference between just going for authenticity and looking for the right authenticity.
Yeah. How many radio scripts have we seen? We want it to sound conversational. If I see another one of those, I'm putting a gun in my mouth.
That also falls under advertising.
Yes, if you can fake conversational, you've got it made.
I love let's fake authenticity.
Well, we fake authenticity all the time. But when I worked at the radio network in Los Angeles, there was this guy who kept coming in to record. He had an interiors business, upholstery, drapes, things like that. Loved him. He was terrific. But he kept coming in trying to record these commercials that he had written, that I had written. Nothing was making him happy. And I finally said to the account rep, I said, look, bring him in. We're going to sit down in the studio with him. We're going to record him talking about his business. And I think we probably sat there for 20 minutes. And the result ended up yielding probably 3 commercials worth of material. But I put together one of these commercials. I did the first one in the series. I got about 30 seconds of the client's actualities, did announcer wraparounds. We produced it, and it sounded great. It was so unvarnished. It was so real. It was so evocative. It so made you want to have a piece of furniture that needed reupholstery so you could go see this guy. And the account rep gives it to the client, and he comes back to me with a message. He really likes what he says, but he wants to come back in and re-record it so it sounds like a commercial. And I said, you know what? Tell him to take it home and play it for his wife.
There you go.
And the next day it was on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
People fear sounding different. It's the phrase we say a lot is, I want to be different just like them. So obviously that explains itself. But we run into it all the time.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys, because you were so generous to me all these years ago, giving me these little golden nuggets, which I have since dispensed around the world about brand and what your core audience is. Now, I'm going to give one to you, and I've used this on stage, and please feel free to use it again, like Jeff Goldblum, like a kid who found his dad's gun.
Okay.
This is actually in my core talk that I give around the world. And this was a huge hit in Toronto, by the way. One of the things I say is, you ever hear somebody on the radio say or on the TV say, hey, we're family owned? And I said, well, what does that mean? Oh, you're owned by the mob?
Well, cool.
I always... Cool. No, you're not. Stop saying these things.
Dysfunctional family business is just as bad as any other business, or worse.
And Larry the Cable Guy actually has a bit about this. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where he talks about, hey, we're family owned. He's like, oh, you're going to come in and ask to borrow money and never pay me back and smack me around and call me names?
And as soon as you say that, you could probably come up with an instance where family owned matters.
Oh, sure.
And you would have to
not a concrete business.
You would have to make it matter. And I'm just thinking a restaurant where the recipes are handed down from generation to generation, and this was my great grandmother's and
Mama Lucioni's special spaghetti sauce. Look, it's that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Now you did touch on something I do want to talk about, because I've one of my clients, a HVAC guy, made this guy millionaire. All right. Off of 60-second radio spots. And we did the exact same thing that you're talking about. And now, to be fair, this guy has a really deep, gravelly voice. It sounds like Sam Elliott drunk. Okay.
Sam Elliott drunk. Wow.
Let me tell you, like this here, hey, did you see the bowl game last night? He has such
beer. It's what's for dinner.
Right. If you think about now, here we are getting back in the box again. All right. When I say a heating and air conditioning company or a heating and air conditioning commercial, what does that sound like? What does that look like? Now, this is where you got to bust out of the stereotypical, well, it's going to be somebody in a clean shirt going around to the side of your house with a wrench and looking at the fan. No, he would come in and he would basically ramble like what you were talking about, Blaine, with Dr. Sam. And I would do the same thing and just pull out these nuggets and create a story thread. But it would also be on one topic, Yes. And his big thing is if your house is inefficient, you may not need a new unit because you got problems with your house. You don't have to buy a $10,000 new unit, and these things were massively successful to the point.
Good on you.
That the on-air hosts on the AM radio station, the massive AM station that I used to work at, they would basically kind of mimic him, like, oh, play another. Sound like that guy, the HVAC guy.
Because they had fun with
it. When you get to that point, holy crap, that's free advertising for you. Now, the theme here of this line of questioning is one of the new things, and have you both seen Live from the Truck? I know Honey has seen Live from the Truck. Okay.
Oh, come on. I've commented on Live from the Truck repeatedly.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
I'm one of your best viewers.
You're my biggest fan.
Not. Yeah, I am your biggest fan.
One of the things about Live from the Truck and why a lot of these people, I got people now going, hey, can I be in the truck with you? Sure.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Weird. It's, if you look at the trend of some of the most popular, quote, viral videos are the ones that get a lot of traction. It's people sitting in their vehicle. It's not polished. It's not in a studio. It's very raw. It's unedited. It's it feels spontaneous. And that is kind of an extension of what we were talking about, Blaine, with and Honey, when you get in somebody in the studio and you just let them ramble, it's an extension of that. So do you think of course it depends on the business. Do you think that a wise tactic would be to shoot these cell phone videos? Because I'm telling businesses to do this now. Don't get in a studio with the green screen unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, we worked for a client in Southern California, large appliance store. And one of the things that we were trying to get them to do, this place was huge, absolutely huge. It was like a big box store, although it was mom and pop owned.
It was a 25,000 square foot family owned appliance superstore.
And they had these gorgeous vignettes set up, these full kitchens, and it was just, and in fact, the space was so great and inviting that the tagline that we came up with for them was, "You could live here." And because you literally could, and it would probably be nicer than my house.
They actually had mattresses when we first started working.
But my point was going to be, to what you were saying, Tim, is what we were trying to get the salespeople to do was, take your phone. If you have a customer that you just made incredibly happy, hold up the phone and either get the two of you or just the customer and say, how'd that go? What just happened for you at this store? And very few people did it. But the ones that did it, those videos, when we posted those, got a ton of play. People really dug that. And the other thing with that is the clients, the customers would get excited to see themselves and they would share it with all of their people.
Exactly.
I think this also points to something else, which is one of the challenges with marketing is we tried to get the salespeople to do this. They, in the main, would not do it. They would not break out of their box. They had their groove, they were in the groove, and they didn't want to get out of the groove. And
do you think that,
especially now?
Do you think that's because, I'm not getting paid any extra money for this. Why do I
care? Perhaps, although, they're working on commission. So, if you have a long-term game, you would see the plus of it. And I would think that for a business owner, if I had been the owner, I would have made that a priority, whether you incentivize it. So, at the end of the month, the salesperson whose video had the most play wins XYZ,
Sure.
Something to get people really excited about it. And then eventually it becomes habit. But there is that authenticity that sells. And I want to go back to something, Tim, that you had briefly touched on, but it's so important. And that is the power of one. When you talked about the radio spots that you did for the HVAC, where you focused on just one thing at a time. And people can only focus on one thing. And a trap that a lot of business owners fall into is, but I want to say everything. Because if I don't say everything, there's so many amazing things about us. If I don't say it, they're going to miss it and they won't come in. But what you do by focusing on one thing is you intrigue somebody. And if you do it well, they say, tell me more. And then you get to say all of those. It's like inviting a vampire into your house. They have no power unless they're welcomed in. So you need to be welcomed in. But focusing on one thing, your brand is about one thing, and then each communication you do is just focused on one thing.
And it amplifies that thing. If somebody's watching this right now, like I got a lot of small business owners that watch this, and maybe their sales have stagnated, they're flat, they're down, and when that happens, the story. They start to question everything.
Sure.
Am I on the right track? Is my logo wrong? Do I need to change? And if somebody is confused about their brand, or maybe they ask their customers, why do you come in here? Oh, because I like the blank, and it's not the answer that the owner was thinking. All of a sudden, that kind of adds to the, it just compounds the problem.
Yeah.
If a business owner is unsure about their brand, or they don't even know what their brand is, or they think they know but they're not sure, what's the first thing that you would suggest?
Well, I think you really hit it. I
would say cocktails.
Yes, big buckets of cocktails. But in lieu of that, if you don't have a bucket, you really, Tim, you hit on it. What you need to do is listen. You need to interview your customers. If you have employees, I mean, this is really the bulk of how we kick off any branding for any client. Is we listen to them. We get a list of clients that we can speak to. We talk to the people who work there. And I'm thinking, Mr. Parker, about the law business that we rebranded.
By the way, I want to interject here for a moment. She calls me Mr. Parker of her own volition. It is not some kind of weird servant master thing that I've got going here.
No. See, you totally took the air out of the story. It should have been, It is a weird servant master thing. She pays me $2 every, whatever.
All right.
But people aren't going to hear the word "not." They're just going to walk away with servant master.
Yeah. Honey, were you going to Susan Graham?
No, actually, I was going
we've
to
done several. Lawyers are one of our sweet spots. We love working with lawyers.
Really?
So I was
what is it about lawyers?
Great.
Just really quickly, is there something about lawyers?
Okay, we were talking to a lawyer about this. It was a client's lawyer who we had become friends with, and he said, well, it's really not surprising that you enjoy working with lawyers, because for the most part, lawyers appreciate expertise. They are willing to listen, and they spend 30% of their annual revenue looking for new business.
Yeah, and often a lawyer will say,
Great.
Please do your job because I'm busy doing mine.
Yeah.
Which is also fantastic. But the story that I was getting to was this business, and she came to us to rebrand her, but she thought she could keep her name because it meant so much to all of her clients.
It's a lawyer consultancy.
Yes.
She is a lawyer, and she consults to lawyers on building their book of business.
And so her name was, ready?
Me?
Go for it.
Lex Innova.
Get it?
I'm sorry, what?
Lex Innova.
Which is Latin.
Is Latin. I can't even remember what it means.
I don't know.
Something about lexicon.
So Blaine, when we first heard this, we thought, well, okay, we're not the target audience. I'm not trying to build my book of law business. So perhaps we don't get it just because we aren't the core audience, which is fine. So we started talking to her clients and other lawyers, and she assured us that everybody loved it and everybody got it.
Well, lawyers always learned Latin, ostensibly.
And so pretty much everyone said, yeah, we have no idea.
Okay.
We don't get what it
I just went to Google Translate and I translated Latin to English. Lexinova literally translates to the law anew.
So in talking
God.
to everybody, you start to find out what the heart of the heart is and why somebody matters. And that's how you start to build your brand.
And talking to her clients who are huge fans of her. We're huge fans of her. We've become very friendly with her. We love her to death. She is one of our favorite people on the planet. Her name is Julie Fleming. And she is the offspring of a very accomplished lawyer and a very accomplished psychiatrist. So she has got just this incredible brain trust going on genetically in here. So her clients just would rave about her. And one of the things they all really appreciated was the fact that she is Julie. She is, she's an incredible human being. And she is a huge strategy fiend. It's all about the strategy. So many lawyers are so caught up in trying to do the business of law that they don't have the time to do the business of marketing. Yet, as a lawyer, one of the things you are responsible for doing is attracting new business to the firm.
So this isn't just if you have your own business, your own boutique business.
Yeah.
If you work within a firm, you are almost like a little business in that big business.
You're a little cog in a big machine, and you have to bring in new clients. And if you're working alone, you also have the problem of attracting business while you're busy trying to be a solo practitioner. So either way, all of these clients loved her strategic mindedness. And so finally, the business ended up, and it seems so stupid simple on the face of it, but Julie, your business is called Fleming Strategic.
Because she has a very good reputation, and people wanted to be aligned with her.
Bank on your name and the idea that you are strategic for these people, because it is exactly what you do.
And one of the things, this is interesting, you talked about Dr. Sam, and now you talked the Fleming strategic. Right. Changing your brand, we're not talking about changing your name, so to speak. I mean, you have to be open to that.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. And we get the gravity of it anytime somebody allows us to rebrand them. We take it very seriously. And we also, when we rebrand somebody, part of what we offer is, and here are the communications that we're going to send out to all your current customers, so they understand that it's still you, why it's changing, and what is the benefit to them.
Yeah. It's and that is a big struggle. And we go back to I spent so much money on this, and I hired this guy off Fiverr to do my logo, and okay.
I think one of because it's not like we change everybody's name. Sure. Some of our biggest clients, local clients, we've got a hairstylist and an electrician. Olson Electric could not change their name, but they really needed to evolve the brand into the 21st century because it was a tremendously outdated logo, very simple blue letters on a white truck, no real direction in terms of brand other than, hey, we show up and do the work. So, we evolved their brand into something that looked current and gave them a tagline. And their tagline is, the extra mile, we wired it. They love it. People love it. Their logo is fun. It goes with the tagline. It's current.
The combination of name and tagline should be poetry. And I'm not trying to be lofty, because we're not, if you think about the example that Blaine just gave you, Olson Electric, the extra mile, we wired it. It's not fancy words. It doesn't even rhyme, but there is a poetry to it. There is a rightness to it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you start to feel a certain way. We always say that once somebody hears your name and tagline, they should start to understand how they're supposed to feel about your business right there.
You've seen the cow sprayer that I've been working on for
I
a number
love
of
the
years.
cow sprayer.
We were discussing it this morning.
Well, thank you. The tagline I've come up with, and there's been a few, because that how this is. It just happens, and when you have a business and you start thinking, well, what's my tagline? I've always said that is really your marketing message. The name,
Yep.
Okay, Amazon, eBay, whatever. I said the A word, sorry, but the tagline for the cow sprayer, it sprays for flies, so you don't have to.
The tag.
That is so great because, okay, it's not poetry. It's not even clever. It is so understandable. The clarity is huge.
Yeah, it punches you in the face. Yeah.
The poetry is the simplicity of it.
And by the way, how much? This is a genuine question. How much does your core customer hate spraying for flies?
Oh, it's a huge problem. Not only is it dangerous, but it's incredibly time consuming.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love this, and they've been a client of mine for going on 3 years now. I always love this objection. My cows won't walk through it. Like, we went to Central Casting and got some cows.
Right.
I
love that video.
Walk through this machine right here. Come on.
And often when we're working on a tagline for somebody, whenever possible, we try to make the tagline about the customer as opposed to the business. If it was slow burn marketing in business for 10 years, well, why does somebody care? And it took us a long time to do our own tagline, because doing your own stuff is the hardest thing. But ultimately, we became slow burn marketing. My, what a big brand you have. So, it's about our customer. Our customers tend to be smaller business, but it is it's a big business to them.
Oh, no doubt.
And,
yeah. There's another business that we worked on some brand evolution for them, Anne-Marie Skincare. And I love these people. We end up loving most of our clients. And Kevin Gianni and Anne-Marie Gianni, they are former physical trainers. They were raw food gurus for a while, and they ended up getting into the organic skincare product business. And it's a huge business. I mean, they're a juggernaut.
Oh, yeah.
And we evolved their logo and came up with a tagline for them, and it was Anne-Marie Skincare, honest, wild, beautiful. And his jaw dropped. Kevin was like, "Oh, this is worth every penny we have paid."
Yeah, he said, if we only get that, you guys have earned it.
Full disclosure, it took years, but eventually Jessica Alba's attorneys sent a cease and desist because they trademarked the name Honest.
Are you serious?
Yeah. The Honest Company is the name of her business. Yeah, so they are busy again evolving the tagline, but it's a little crazy that you can actually own the idea of honesty.
Well, I find it. I believe it, but I also don't believe it. Where you can trademark certain Pantone colors on the scale. On the color wheel. The University of Texas. Blue. What's that?
Robin's Egg Blue, Tiffany's.
Yeah, the University of Texas with that burnt orange. It that to me is a little. I get it, but come on.
I find it troubling too.
Yeah, to a degree. Before we wrap up here, and by the way, I just love talking to you guys. Tell us about your books. Tell us about your books if you have anything to offer. This is the chance for my audience.
Oh, I wish Mr. Parker had something to offer. I
what they say.
No,
what they say. You don't go on Oprah and not have anything to sell.
We do.
We do have something to sell. It's not like a downloadable product or anything, but we do have this podcast called Couple Co, Working with Your Spouse for Fun and Profit. And it's really good for couples in business together, especially if you're thinking about getting into business together, to listen to other couples in business together. But That notwithstanding, we have lots of listeners who are not in business with a spouse who love listening to it just for the business insight.
Sure.
So you can find it at couplecode.com. We actually have, I don't know when this is going to go out.
Next week.
Okay, next week, next Wednesday, dropping just after midnight, we are putting up an interview with Catherine Michon and W. Bruce Cameron, who are the screenwriting team that created the Dog's Purpose film franchise. The first movie in the series, there's right now, I think there are 4 movies. The first movie did over $200 million at the box office.
That's not
it's a
bad.
juggernaut. Yeah, he is presently on a book tour for the third in the series of best-selling novels.
I love the name of their business.
Yeah, their business. This is because she is a director, and Hollywood has a problem with the idea of female directors. They're only about 4% of the directors in Hollywood are women, and anytime a woman directs a movie and it's a hit, it's called a surprise hit. So they've called their company Surprise Hit Films.
It's kind of genius.
Yeah. And everything that they do has, even though it has only one person's name on it, they have both got their hands in the project.
Yeah, they both touch everything they do.
But they have, not only are they fun to listen to, they've got some really interesting business insight. So that is the big tent pole we've got coming. But really, it's all good. We've got right now live, there is an episode with a couple that owns a bar in Salt Lake City.
An arcade bar.
Yes, it's filled
pinball
with
machines.
Yes, yeah. Vintage video games and pinball machines. They
and well-crafted cocktails.
Yeah, they are great. It is one of the best conversations ever, even if you don't like bars.
They're bubbly. They're just... they were great, and so that's all at couplecode.com.
Well, you gotta give us the name of the bar now, because I'm morbidly curious. What?
Quarters.
Oh.
Quarters Arcade Bar in Salt Lake City. Yeah, so that's a good name for the bar.
Okay, that's a why didn't I think of it
right,
isn't it? It's like,
genius.
I should have had a V8. You know, it really is one of those moments. Quarters. Yeah. Oh my God, I love.
And so that's all.
Simplicity sells, kids. Simplicity sells.
Well, we always say clear beats clever.
Okay, and actually, the one thing I will say, I think for anybody who's interested in marketing, probably one of the best interviews to listen to is Dave Lakhani and Sarah Scheme of Growth Foundry. Yes, this is a whole other agency. It's a digital ad agency. She grew up knowing she was going to be a lawyer, and she was going to run as the first female president. She actually got involved in politics and decided that she didn't enjoy making the sausage and went into sales. Dave grew up in a cult in Idaho, left when he was 16, has been on his own since then. He has been, among other things, a sponsored kickboxer. He has been a cop. He has been an undercover DEA agent. He got his paycheck one day from the DEA and looked at it and thought, okay, I have been shot, I have been stabbed twice, and I could make more money managing a McDonald's.
Oh.
So he has evolved into a internationally recognized persuasion and marketing guru.
Oh, I was going to say, get that guy on stage, man.
Yeah, he was actually the first person to put us on stage together, because Blaine and I have done a lot of speaking from stage around the world, but it started with Dave.
He was an evangelist for the cult when he was 11. They would send him out on the street, and he always had a sweet spot. He would look for a woman who was alone, and he would approach her and come off really sweet and then insult her, and then she'd go looking for the kid's mom, and mom was the closer. So it's worth listening to just for that story.
Give us the name of that one more time. I'll put that on.
Dave Lakhani and Sarah Scheme. It's an interview in Couple Co, working with your spouse for fun and profit.
It's Couple CO. The word couple, then CO.
Couplecode.com, also available at iTunes and Google Podcasts.
And if you are looking for a book about branding and marketing, our book is $1 Billion Branding.
I love that. Is one of my favorite books.
Available on Amazon.
We've actually gotten clients. Thank you. We've gotten clients from that book. I mean, it would never occur to me to do this, but people have read the book and called us and just said, like, nobody else has made it that clearly simple before.
We actually were we had done a presentation on stage here in Park City. People from all over the country had come for something called the SAM conference, SAM, Sales and Marketing. And it was a TED style structure. We had, I think, 21 minutes to give a presentation.
Is this the Sam Cart people?
The who?
Sam Cart? Are you familiar with Sam Cart?
No.
Okay, because that's what they say. It's sales and marketing cart.
No. No, this is a fellow by the name of Andrew Locke who has a business, something called Help My Business, which has evolved from various other names. But he's an Englishman, and you may have seen him. He's got videos everywhere. He's also been a travel guru of some kind. But we gave our dog and pony show about brand. Brand is the one way your core customer should feel about your business. And we give examples and we talk about, how you can implement it. And also just for the radio people and really for anyone else. But I think one of the most solid brands of all time is Motel 6. It sounds exactly like what they offer.
Yeah.
They have ridden that brand juggernaut for 30 years with Tom Baudette's voice. Nothing has changed in that brand because it is solid and evocative and people respond to it.
Yeah.
And speaking to emotion, we'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That is, it just makes you go, wow, I kind of want to go there, even though I don't.
It really does. It really
So
does.
anyway, we give this presentation and we're standing on the sidewalk out in front of the theater afterwards. And this woman with an MBA comes up and says, they never made anything that clear in graduate school. That was amazing. Thank you. And people
figure.
Yeah. There's too much business around the business of branding for people to actually get to the core of what branding is really about. You got to cut through the clutter.
Yeah.
And yes, all those other things are important, but at its essence is the one way your core customer should feel about your business. Who is your unemployed college professor driving the very, very, very used Volvo? Who is your mom? And it's one word, core customer, mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just really is that simple, and it is not that easy to get to because you have got to cut through a lot of clutter and do a lot of work to figure it out.
Absolutely true. I want to let you go because we've
gone over
for like an hour. No, we haven't gone over, but it's like, look, you got stuff.
Well, aren't we up against a hard break? Aren't you rolling?
Right.
We're not live.
We're coming up to a hard break. No, just as a thank you for being here, I'm going to send you this copy right here of A Kick in the Ads.
A Kick in the Abs.
Thank you.
It's my new. It's the third book.
Love the cover.
Thank you. Designed by me, by the way. But no, I'll be sending that to you. But
how have I missed this? I've never seen you talk about it in the truck.
Oh, well, that's going to change starting today.
Okay.
Billion Dollar Branding. I highly recommend that
Wish
book.
I had a copy of it.
That's all right.
I might have one downstairs if you want to wait a minute.
That's okay. No, I've got one. I've got one. But
hold it up.
But I don't have it within arm's reach here. But I would suggest.
Why not?
If you're if you're watching or listening to this right now, you absolutely do yourself a favor. Pick up Billion Dollar Branding. I get nothing from it, but you will get a ton from it. And Blaine and Honey Parker, coupleco.com. It's coupleco.com is where you can find and follow them and check out their podcasts and all the other stuff they're concocting in their kitchen of evil.
Yes. If you are interested only in the marketing part, slowburnmarketing.com does have,
Slow Burn Marketing is
content there that will appeal to you.
Right.
But we are, Couple Co is our, what do we call this? Our passion project.
Yes.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing. I love it.
It's, we've worked with a lot of couples in business together. We've met a lot of couples in business together. And as Honey likes to say, a good Couple Co is the best of us. It's people, a couple who love each other and love their work, working with love for people, for their customers. People helping people. Yeah.
Or it's like from the Seinfeld episode, the Human Fund, money for people. Did you ever see that episode?
No, but Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah.
By the way,
yeah.
Blaine and Honey Parker. I got to be on your podcast one of these weeks.
Absolutely.
But
We'd love it.
Thank you for doing this. I know my audience is getting a lot of it, and I can't wait to chat with you again, because we can do this all week, but nobody would want to listen to that all week.
No, I'm surprised anyone's still here.
Me too. There you go. My name's Tim Burt. Marketanything.co you'll find this here, and stay right there. Don't go anywhere. But let's say bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Tim. Really
Thanks, Tim.
appreciate it.